All I try to do is to see what it's about, you know, is to try to feel it, to try to live it as much as possible. We're only here, all of us, for just a short time, and as we struggle our way through this miasmic fog that we ourselves have created, some people grab at as many things as they can and taste them and walk their way, struggling towards the same abyss, and other guys put little blinders around their eyes, grab a hold of the first thing that they discover when they first begin to discover, and hold on to it for dear life all of their life, figuring this is the only way it can be. And there is no only way. There are billions and billions of ways, just as there are billions of people, and some ways that have never even been touched yet. Speaking of touching, the thing that I saw, now this has to be brought out as a kind of an example of the normal state of man. You can take, who was it who once said that any 30-second period in the life of every man could be taken as the history of all mankind? Well, let me show you this picture. I am standing in the rain on 6th Avenue. If there's anything I really dig, it's 6th Avenue in the rain. I mean, it smells like old shoe leather, old cigar butts, old litter bugs, old records, old buildings, and everything. Just everything all old and rainy. Let me tell you another thing. There is no street that smells more like Rome in the rain than 6th Avenue. I stood inside the great, vast arched dome of the entranceway to the railroad station in Rome about, 5 months ago now? I stood there, it was February or March, and I stood in the entranceway, and there was a driving rain just crashing down, a tremendous driving rain. And looking out over the trees are almost always green in Rome. I've never been in Rome when they weren't. And the old rain is coming down, and I'm standing there with about 5,000 Italians, and we're all jostling one against the other, waiting for the rain to cool off. And a crowd waiting for a rain to stop in Rome is exactly as a crowd waiting for a rain to stop in the doorways along 6th Avenue, and smells exactly alike. There is no difference at all, none whatsoever, if you know 6th Avenue. And so I'm standing there in the entranceway to the railroad station. The old rain is coming down, and once in a while a girl comes in. This is maybe out of every head. Has it occurred to you that it seems that when you're walking down the street that the average ratio of women to men is about one woman to every 3 men? Every 3 men. Why is this? It just seems to be. Has it occurred to you this? Of course, it's quite obviously not true. But you see more men around than you see women. And wherever there's a crowd, there seems to be more men. So there were a lot of men standing in the entranceway there, and there were maybe 25 or 30 women, and almost all of them were really women, you know? They were beautiful chicks. Well, you know how it is. The crowd of men is, first of all, they're standing there looking up at the sky. Well, then they got tired of looking at gray clouds. Then they watched the rain for a while bang down on the streets. Then they got tired of that. Then they began to look at the women. And the whole crowd begins to sort of mill around. The women are gradually edging their way. And one by one, they dart out into the rain. They're going to chance it out there instead of in here. And so it just went on and on. The rain is coming down. There's a kind of, in a sense, a kind of togetherness that develops because of rain. And at the same time, a kind of apartness. And so I'm standing on 6th Avenue, up on the 40 someplace, in the rain. The rain was coming down. It was Thursday. Just coming down, a nice, kind of soft, easy, warm drizzle. You know, the kind where you feel like you should have brought an umbrella, and yet you didn't, and it doesn't make any difference in your sports shirt. It's just pleasant, you know. And a guy is wandering across the street, absolutely oblivious of the traffic, a man type. He's just kind of wandering in the middle of the block, just sort of wandering across the street on 6th Avenue. And all the traffic, as you know, 6th Avenue traffic moves in puffs because of the lights and so on. It moves in clumps. Well, as he's wandering, he's just about to where I am. He's coming across the street. He's about maybe 20 feet from the curb, and he's still just wandering along there, and the rain is coming down, and a puff of traffic caught up with him. And a cab has to stop because he's walking across the street. A cab just sort of slows up and stops. And suddenly the cab driver stuck his head on the window and said, "Oh, yeah, get out of the street, you bum, for crying out loud here. Get your leg broken." And the guy looks up. He said, "What are you talking about, you idiot? I'm walking across the street." And the next thing I know, these two guys are hollering it out there, and the cab has stopped. And the man has stopped too, and both of them are hollering one at the other. Yeah, what, out of town, what are you, hillbilly, what? And it goes on and on like that for about maybe 3 minutes. I'm just watching this thing develop. And suddenly the guy who was walking across the street looks at his watch in the middle of hollering. He's hollering, crummy cab driver. And the cab driver's, "Oh, you idiot, you And he takes a look at his watch, and he suddenly stops right in the middle of his most vituperative phrase, which I cannot describe to any of you, since there are obviously women and children listening at this hour. Right in the middle of it all, he looks at his watch, and he suddenly stops and he hollers at the cab driver, "Hey, you going east?" And the cab driver says, "Yeah!" And with that, the guy jumps in the back of the cab, and they both go off. Which I thought was a magnificent moment. There is a capsule of thumbnail history of all of mankind. That as long as one guy is interfering with another guy, the fist fight is bound to ensue. And it will ensue just as long as neither one of them needs something from the other guy. And the instant that he needs something from the other guy, then it's all peaches and cream. All peaches and cream. And I was wondering, the only thing that bugged me for an hour after that, these guys were really shouting at each other, was what were they saying to each other in the cab as they went east off of 6th Avenue? Well, I can warrant you, it was great stuff. I'll bet, because you see, there's nothing that brings guys closer together than a good fist fight. As an example of that, nobody loved the Japanese more than we did immediately after the war. And on and on and on it goes, you see. Nothing brings people closer together. And I might say that the same things that made that fist fight occur are always within people. Don't think for a minute that they go away. You know, we have this beautiful feeling among ourselves. This is one of the great illusions of mankind. And it is that he is a perfectible creature. Like, say, a portable typewriter can be perfected. That next year's model is better than last year's model. That somehow all we've got to do is get a book that says how to clear up the problem, how to fix your conscience, how to make your mind work correctly, and we'll be all right. That we are perfectible, just like an animal. We are, or not like an animal at all, like a machine, and we are not at all, as history has proven. That every 5 minutes another war breaks out, and this has gone on for as long as there has been recordable history. And it always goes on wherever two people get in the way, one with the other. And it's a very pleasurable thing for them. When some guys talk about a fight they had for 15 years, and that's the only moment that they ever talk about, is the fight they had. Other guys who were in the war talk about the war for the rest of their lives. It was the only thing that happened that was important to them. And it goes on and on and on and on this way. And these two guys are in that cab, and I'm saying, obviously, when they first got in it was like the truce has been declared. I mean, peace suddenly has come over the world. And the two of them are now sitting in the same cab, only because the cab driver wanted this guy's money, and this guy wanted the cab driver's cab. And so the two of them are going along. It's just like immediately after the war, the Japanese loved us because they needed us. We were riding in the same cab.